Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to walk through the first couple of solutions to the classwork problems. Here are the problems, but I don't want to split my screen like this, so I'm going to show you something that you can do also. I'm going to copy the problem statement, and if you put your cursor in your editor and do /* and then hit enter, anything that you type or paste in between /* and / is called a comment, and the computer is going to ignore it. So it's just for you to remember what it is that you want to do. But of course, don't type your code in between there because it won't run as your code. All right, so the first problem says, write a program that declares three integers a, b, and c. So that's enough to get started writing right away. And this is true of a lot of the problems. They'll tell you what to do, but every single sentence is going to tell you important information. So declaring three integers, that means I need to follow the pattern where I declare. So int a, that would just make an integer. I could say int b and int c. So that works. Three integers, a, b, and c. Next it says assign them values. So I could assign them values. And it can be whatever numbers you want. If you want to, you can do this all on one line. So instead of that, you could declare them all three on one line like this, a comma b comma c. That's okay. And you can also assign them values here. So either one of those would be all right. Whoa. Okay. So next, display their sum, their product, and their average. All right, so if I'm going to display their sum, product, and average, I have to calculate them. So I'm going to define a variable called sum that's going to be the sum of a and b and c. And I'm going to define product is going to be a times b times c. And average, I don't want to make an int. Let's do average first. So average is the same as a plus b plus c divided by 3. There's a couple of things to notice here. One is that a plus b plus c is the same as sum. So I don't actually need to add them again. I can just say sum. Another thing is usually an average is going to have decimal numbers, so I don't want it to be the int data type. I want it to be the double data type. And last is sum is an int, and 3 is also an int. And so that means integer division will happen, which means that even if there is a decimal number left over at the end, it's going to chop off the decimal part. That's called truncating. So it will only return the integer part from this division. But I don't want that. I want it to return the actual correctly divided number. So if you make that 3.0, this is now a double, and integer division won't happen. The other way to do that is you can put double right here in parentheses. That's called casting. And what this means is treat the sum variable like it's a double. I think for this particular one, having 3.0 is a little bit nicer. All right, so now we're going to display the sum, product, and average. So I could just write sum like that, but here the problem is telling me I want the output to look in a very specific way. It's supposed to actually look like this. The sum of blank, blank, and blank is blank. So we're gonna recreate this text, except instead of the blanks, we'll use our variables. So inside the quotes, I'll write the sum of, and then a, comma, space, b, comma, space, and c is sum. So now let's test it. So you can see the sum of 21 and -3 is 18. So I'll leave it to you to add the next two print statements. Let's go on to number 2. So for number 2, I tried to make what I wanted clear by having an example program that you'd follow when solving your own down here. So here it says, this is a sample program that converts feet to inches. So it saves a number of feet. So that's happening on this line. So I've got 3.2 feet. Then it converts that to inches. So I have whatever number of feet I typed up here times 12 inches per feet. And we save that inside this new variable inches. And then it will display the results. and it says 3.2 feet is, and then whatever the answer for inches is, and then the word inches. So you're going to follow this same pattern, except instead of converting feet to inches, you're going to convert something into something else. I'm going to skip part A. I'm going to do part B here. So it says, convert a number of days into a number of seconds. In other words, it should say 10 days is a whole lot of seconds. And so then my hint was, if you're not sure how to do the calculation itself, think how many hours in a day, how many minutes in an hour, how many seconds in a minute. All right, so if I'm following the same pattern, I'll have a certain number of days. So let's say 3.2 days. And then I want to convert that into seconds. So I'm going to make a variable called seconds. But I'm not sure how to do the calculation straight off. So let's do it in a number of intermediate steps. So instead of days, let's say hours. So if I want to convert days to hours, I know there's 24 hours in a day. So I could say days times 24 hours per day. And then if I wanted minutes, I could say, let's take my number of hours and multiply it by 60 minutes per hour. And now we're in a position to find seconds, because I know I can take my number of minutes and just multiply it by 60 to find the number of seconds. All right. So I was just in the process of doing this, which is wrong. So the problem here was a problem I brought up last week. You can't declare a variable twice. You can't declare the same variable twice. So declaring it, where you have the data type and the variable name, creates the place in memory where it's going to save the information. So here it's saying do that again. But the location's already been saved and it's already been named. So I don't need to save it. I just need to put a value inside it. So this is just saving the value without recreating the variable. All right, let's print out the result. So now I can say, well, I'll let you print out the result, but it should say a certain number of days is, and then a certain number of seconds. So one thing I want to emphasize is when you're programming, there's always going to be 8 or 10 different ways to solve a problem. And these problems are very, very simple to start with, so there's not so many. But you shouldn't think that there's one right way to do it, that just because you've seen an example where the whole calculation is on one line, that you have to do it all on one line. You can use these basic building blocks of calculations and variables to solve lots of problems however you want. And so if you need to create more variables as intermediate steps, that's great, and you should do it that way. So for the last program, I'm going to make a suggestion about how to do it. It says, create variables to store how many quarters someone has, how many dimes, how many nickels, and how many pennies. And then you should output how many total coins they have and how much total money they have in dollars. So I'm going to start this just with quarters. So I'm going to create an int called quarters that's going to have how many quarters I have. So let's say I've got 9 quarters. I think it's a good idea to have another variable, which is how much money is 9 quarters worth. So I know I've got 9, but every quarter is worth 25 cents. So it's going to be quarters times 25 cents, or $1/4. So if you've got a variable for how many coins and then another variable for how much money, then at the very end, when it comes time to display the total number of coins and the total amount of money, you can just add up all of your variables for numbers of coins and then add up all your variables for how much money they all represent. So that's my hint about the last one. Good luck.